leaves rich Moi Kin broke. And I see here former President Daniel Arap Moi, in power for over 2 decades, was also one of the country's wealthiest men. But barely 4 years after his death, some members of his family are finding it difficult to foot their bills thanks to an ongoing succession battle over his multi-billion shilling estate. This is a story on page 2 and 3. Quite interesting right there. And also I see here, of course, on the floods that are going on in our country. Households in flood-prone areas face eviction, says Ruto. President William Ruto yesterday said the government would evict families living in flood-prone areas. He directed the National Youth Service to provide land to settle those in the most affected regions. The Kenya Defence Forces will also provide specialized services to protect people from the adverse effects of the downpours. I feel like this is actually great news, and I do hope that they follow through to take care of all those who have been displaced and also suffered losses during these floods. And moving on to page 2 and 3, of course, it's that story on Moi, whereby the grandson of Moi held funds to raise hospital cash, and that is regarding the succession battle that is now playing out in court and has kept the millions of former president left in banks where they lie untouched. So the case is that there is a heated succession battle, but at the same time money is needed, but now they can't access the money because of the fact that of course all the assets and the millions have been closed off until the battle has come to an end. Very, very interesting. Look at that story on page 2. And page 3 here is a story that has really caught my eye. I see no love, no marriage, couple allowed to divorce on grounds for lost feelings. But I was asking myself, really, is what is love in the first place, you know? And I see here a marriage where love and feelings have gone out the bedroom door can be considered broken. But let us actually look into it, because I think there is more that meets the eye. Woman says the man had a string of affairs outside the marriage, so that's what we see here. And I see woman squandered gold, 25 million. The court heard that the woman had taken the family gold, squandered at least 25 million given to her, and embarked on a borrowing spree. Also, I see NHS, the aggrieved husband, saying that she continues to assault me by following me to my workplace and hurling abuses at me in front of my customers and staff. I think we all need to come together and literally pray for this couple that is now undergoing this very, very tough situation. I see a lot of strife. I see a lot of blame games. This one did this one did that, and it's just on and on and on. I think this is why we need to really pray for our families and make sure that we are equally yoked, but most importantly, seek God for who our partner needs to be. And moving on, I see on page 4, it is all systems go for vital UDA grassroots elections. Countrywide exercise has potential to strengthen the party or trigger major fallout. Look at that story on page 4. Page 5, I see Raila meets envoys in quest for AUC post. Mr. Odinga regretted that 60 years into independence, Africans have to fly to Europe to connect to certain parts of Africa. Quite unfortunate right there. Raila Odinga, that is the secretariat giving that quote. I see Kenya is backing Mr. Odinga's campaign to become the next chairperson of the African Union Commission. Moving on, I see households in flood-prone areas face eviction. That's a story that we touched on that was on the topic. But just to look at more on the same, I see Professor Kithure Kindike, Interior Cabinet Secretary, saying motorists and pedestrians are urged to desist from risky behavior in flooded or overly wet areas. Sometimes you really can't know how deep that water goes. So, hiyo kujaribu kutest the waters the waters are the ones that will test you. So, we need to really be careful. And moving back on the back page, I see senators push for review of laws on governor removal. Lawmakers say the move is aimed at ending the weaponization of the process. And at a glance, what the law says about impeachment of governors, I see, according to Article 18(1) of the Constitution, a county governor may be removed from office on any of the following grounds. And number 1, gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. And I see B, where there are serious reasons for believing that the county government has committed a crime under national or international law. And C, abuse of office or gross misconduct. Or lastly, physical or mental incapacity to perform the functions of the office of the county governor. Look at that story on the back page. And moving to page 39, I see Xavi says Baka project behind decision to stay. I see here President Joanna. I don't know if that's how you pronounce these words, but La Liga President Joan Laporta, a confident club, is proud of their coach. I see here also Arsenal enter enemy's den as title race rises to boiling point. On page 38, Klopp apologizes to fans as Everton derail title charge. And before I wind up on the Daily Nation, there is something I saw here on the DN too. But the top page is all about Stop It, East Africa's war on domestic violence, breaking the silence. From the rolling hills of Rwanda to the bustling streets of Nairobi, a movement stars ignited by the resilience of survivors like Emily James. This is on page 4 and 5. The battle against domestic violence is right there. And I saw here a very interesting story on page 3. It's asking, is it true that women have a poor sense of direction? Let me tell you something. I have a very poor sense of direction, honestly. Like sometimes I would think it's this way, but I'm like, why does it look like it's this way? You know, I've had those struggles. But you know, a producer, oh my, that girl can show you direction. Hey, no joke. I don't think it's everyone. But I see here, it is a truth universally acknowledged that women and men give directions differently. If you did not pay attention in your geography class and do not remember what north, south, west is, avoid asking men for directions. Research shows that while a woman is more likely to use landmarks, exactly what I keep saying. For me, I need landmarks, to give directions. A man is likely to give you directions that sound something like head east of Moi Avenue after the roundabout. I mean, you tell me that, I do not know what you're telling me because I have to stand there or I have to try and write Beatrice inaandika na mkono gani, nijue which is left, which is right. I struggle with that. I don't know who else struggles with the same thing, but you can write to me 0708 222 Do you also struggle with directions? Because for me, I won't even lie. I need to stand to know what is left and what is right. I need to be a compass at that particular point. But anyway, look at that story on the DN2 that is on page 2. And I see the standard here. The very first story on the top page is revealed. The plan to put civil servants on job contracts. I see here that the employment status of all civil servants will be converted from permanent to pensionable to contractual terms if plans to be presented to the cabinet by Public Service Cabinet Secretary are adopted. This is a story on page 5. And I see here also on the top page, 45 killed, tens of thousands displaced by raging floods. This is a very huge number. Very, very huge number. I see here government moves to assist the displaced with food and shelter, even as the Kenya Meteorological Department warns that heavy rainfall will continue pounding many parts of the country in the next 5 days. So we have to take precaution, be very careful. I think even on our roads, you will notice that it's been written raining, be careful, drive slowly. So let's make sure that we are very much mindful on our roads because these rains, they're expected to keep flowing and flooding. And I also see here on page 3, it's still the same story about many who have passed on due to the floods, which is really, really unfortunate. But we are glad that the government is looking for ways to help them. We are seeing here that they are providing food and also trying to see how they can get some shelter for those who are heavily, heavily affected. And moving on, I see this is how CBC exams will be different from KCPE and KCSE. Watoto bado hawajarudi shule wengine wao. This will be a good time to just take a look at what is happening here on page 4. Candidates will only fight for 70% in the national test that will be set and examined by Kenya National Examination Council. The remaining 30% will have been scored by the learner through class tests and assessments in grade 10 and also 11. So it's not 100%, but 70% that will be for the main exam, 30% ndio changamkia hapo kwenye class test and all that. I see here 70% at junior school. The internal assessments will account for 30% of the final score. 70% will be from the sit-in assessment. That's the same thing. But look at that story on page 4. And also here, unlike the current KCPE and KCSE certificates, under 844 learners in grade 6 and 9 will not receive any. Only one certificate will be issued at grade 12. That is on page 4. And I also see here, page 5, plan to employ civil servants on contract. The move is aimed at cutting the wage bill, which takes half of the tax revenue. I see here governance experts term plan impractical and aimed at killing the careers of civil servants. So kina umana, kina wakamoto, kina tamba. That is on page 5. Let's see what will happen with the civil servants agree, or how is it going to look that they actually get employed on contract. Page 6, but remember, this is to make sure that we're reducing the wage bill. It is said that actually this takes up literally half of the tax revenue. So that's quite a big amount. But let's see how that plays out. We'll be keeping you up to date with that. Page 6 is moment of truth for ODM as it holds grassroots polls. For the last few months, the Orange Party has conducted a nationwide recruitment drive. In the past, party elections have been chaotic and highly competitive among members. That is a story that you can read on the Standard. And moving on, that is on the sports page hapa kwenye Standard. I see Klopp's Reds farewell fizzles out tamely as EPL title hopes fade. Everton dent rivals hopes of Premier League title with win in Merseyside derby. Just a few weeks ago, Liverpool were on course for a potential quadruple but have come off the rails. And I see here Everton versus Liverpool, that is 2-0. Look at that story on page 32. And then page 31, naona mwanadada wetu hapa Chepkoech eyes another win as Kenyans chase glory in China. Beatrice Chepkoech took the 3,000 meter steeplechase crown in Yemen last Saturday. Rising star Faith Cherotich will feature in the women's 5,000 meters in tomorrow's Diamond League meeting. Let us pray for their success as well. And page 30, I see Paris holds its breath for Olympic swimming events in Marquis Seine. That is on page 30. And that's it for the Daily Nation and also the Standard. But of course, you know me with my quotes, the Business Daily. So let us have a look at, first of all, the top page, and then we look at the quote of the day. Uganda keeps oil import case alive despite Kenya deal. I see here Kampala sued after UNOC was blocked. Kenya moved to end dispute last month. And the quote of the day here comes from Morgan Housel, who is an author. And the last word here, everything has a price, but not all prices appear on labels. Everything has a price, but not everything, not all prices appear on labels. So you can think something does not have a price, but actually it's because it has not appeared on the label. Okay, I'll have to ponder on this for like 10 minutes. But anyway, that's it for our newspaper review segment. So right about now, I just want to encourage you to listen to us on Hope FM at the top of every hour. And remember, Hope at 20. Can you imagine? Hope FM is celebrating 20 years. How amazing is that? And we'll culminate the events. Hapo kutoka May 25th, my friend, you gotta be ready for what will be happening. Hope at 20 years of doing the Lord's work. God has been indeed faithful. But you can definitely tune in and get to be updated. At the top of every hour, we have news updates. Right here on Hope TV, we have Dira at 7 p.m. We have News Watch at 9 p.m. So you can keep in touch with us and let us know also what is happening in your counties and whatever is happening in your places. You can also send those, nuggets of information to us. Thank you so much for staying all the way to the end of the newspaper review. We'll take a short break as we have a look at the video of the day. Remember, the video of the day is from our very own guest of the day today, Blessing Bwesa. So let's have a look and then come back, talk about it, even as we usher in the second hour. See you shortly.